Wrestling is predetermined. I know, I'm sorry to be that guy. It is why it's wonderful though, because you can do whatever you want. We're in control, so let's have all the fun. It also means that because we're human beings, sometimes things don't go to plan. Which actually is also entertaining in its own way. So I am Simon Miller, welcome to the video. Let's run this down. Number 10, Kaitlyn wins the Rumble. Or Battle Royal, I know the terms matter. Kaitlyn was the winner of NXT Season 3 though, and seemingly was in line for a push. It's a shame the Women's Revolution hadn't happened because she would have fit right in. So either way, this would have melted people down. Because on the August 2012 Raw, WWE did have a number 1 contender Battle Royal, and Eve Torres was going to win. And she didn't. This is mostly because Torres told Kaitlyn to clothesline her as hard as possible to make the final tease scene real, when Eve accidentally fell out of the ring. Whoops. It's not like you can hide that because thousands of people saw it and it meant Kate had won, and I kind of love it. If you do go and watch this, you can see Kaitlyn doesn't know what to do, and I get that. I'd freak out. I'd likely cry in the ring. Fair play to WWE, however, because they did just run with it. And they should have done that. Go with the madness, because let's face it, deep down, nobody really cares, because once more, you can tell whatever story you damn well please. Number 9, Emma knocks out Becky Lynch. Back to August 2015 here and NXT. We had a fatal 4-way between Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Dana Brooke, and Emma. And given how Charlotte and Becky had been positioned, it seemed like the W was going to go to one of them, and then it didn't. This was actually the plan, however, but the reason Lynch couldn't do anything is because Emma accidentally knocked her out. Yeah, that'll do it. Where it did go all squiggly is that Emma, not knowing this, still went for one of the false finishes, but again, Becky didn't know where she was, so her brain didn't tell her to kick out, and therefore she didn't. It seemed to happen after a crossbody block, and Lynch has talked about this in her autobiography. She was worried about the repercussions, but thankfully all was fine. Emma's face does tell the story once more, though. She looked truly stunned. That's because she was. That's the whole point of this list. This was not meant to go down. Number 8, CM Punk easily beats Jack Swagger. In his 2012 and a January Raw, and man, CM Punk was on his game, because he defeated Jack Swagger pretty darn quickly and effortlessly, even though Swagger had dastardly heels Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler in his corner. Kind of felt like Punk was going to get screwed. Then, when the pair were fighting in the corner, CM headbutted Jack and hit his patented elbow drop, and I suppose Swagger just forgot or something, because the ref went for the 1-2 ooh, but instead he got to 3. What? Well, that's what he thought anyway. If you do watch this, it looks like Jack gets his shoulder up and there is some miscommunication, but man, CM Punk was pissed about that. He went and yelled at everybody, including the commentators. You can once more just see people's expressions that tell the whole story, but just to double down on this, it happens. I mean, sometimes life finds a way. It's basically Jurassic Park. Number 7, that Jackie Guyder match. I hate it when there's a pile-on. Nobody goes out there to have a bad match, but it does happen, and the performers know this too. They're not stupid. So when we did get JBL and Trish Stratus versus Chris Nowinski and Jackie Guyder, yeah, it did not go well. For whatever reason, Jackie couldn't get it together and missed a bunch of strikes, and sort of fell over a lot. I would bet my ass this happened because once you make one mistake, your brain speeds up, then obviously you're gonna make a bunch more. Bradshaw eventually chased Chris off, meaning Trish and Guyder had to end the thing, and that didn't go well either. Stratus was trying to hit her bulldog finish, but Jackie just couldn't get into position. Then they sort of collapsed on the floor. Jim Ross even made reference to this not being the best 2, and thank goodness it was over, but it really was just one big accident. We do not throw stones in this Simon Miller house, though. I mean, you can be critical, of course, go absolutely nuts, but don't be mean. Have a heart. Number 6, Toni Storm wins the World of Stardom title. And that wasn't the overall plan. This was before she made her way to WWE and then AEW, because Toni Storm was indeed killing it in Japan. She eventually won the World of Stardom title and held it for 258 days, which is a great run, especially as she was never meant to get the belt at this point anyway. It kicked off at the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix event when Storm challenged the current champion Mayu Iwatani. They were destined to have a banger. Instead, after she fell from the ropes though, Iwatani broke her elbow and she couldn't move. Pretty scary. The referee had no choice but to stop the thing because there's no way she could have continued, so yeah. Storm won, and this was quite a shock. Even when Mayu was good to go, Stardom kept the belt on Toni until she lost it in June 2018. That was basically because she was about to head to WWE. Really though, when you do break it down like D-Generation X, this all worked out fine. You are going to have a mistake world champion. Toni Storm would always be my choice. As she proved in 2024, she is pretty damn good. Number 5, Matt Hardy wins with a side effect. Wrestlers love signature moves. Why they use them I don't know, because they never win matches, and yet they still go for the pin. Actually, this makes no sense. Matt Hardy knows the deal, so has always used the side effect, and while it is a good solid 1-2-ooh maneuver, no one ever really thinks it's going to end a fight, until one day it did. This was ECW when Hardy was teaming up with Mark Henry, even though they were going to fight at the pay-per-view, but that's the most WWE thing ever. Their opponents were The Miz and John Morrison. The match was actually really fun, but you know the deal. If the finish does go weird, it's all anyone's going to talk about. So when Matthew hit a side effect variant on Johnny using the ropes and took forever to make the pin, everyone just thought this was fine. They must be selling. For some reason, though, when he did cover up, Morrison kicked out, but the referee didn't care. He just counted to 3. Maybe he left the oven on. Hardy and Henry looked baffled for obvious reasons, and the ring announcer didn't know what to do. I mean, everybody just sort of stopped working like their batteries had run out. It's not like this was the people's elbow either. It was clearly an error, but hey, WWE's ECW at this time had way worse issues. I mean, they went and introduced a mummy. Let's not talk about it. Number 4, Edge, Christian, and Kurt Angle versus Too Cool at Judgment Day 2000. For a good while before the Invasion storyline in 2001, we had Team Eck, or Edge, Christian, and Kurt. They were great. They all had the same sense of humor, so they were just a joy, and at Judgment Day 2000, they faced Too Cool, which of course was Scotty 2 Hotty, Brian Christopher, and Rikishi. They like to dance, so let's cheer them. Now, given on the one side you had a tag team who'd already established themselves, an Olympic gold medalist, you'd assume that ECK were going to win, and then they didn't. What? Clearly something went awry, because as Christian thumped Big Quiche with the ring bell, Edge went to get the 3, but the referee wasn't there. He was still yelling at Scott in order to accidentally on purpose not see this blatant use of cheating. Grandmaster Sexay then decided to hit the hip-hop drop on the Rated R Superstar, because of course he did. And when Rikishi went to make the 3, Angle was meant to break this up, but he didn't. He was late. Whoops. The ref just ended the thing because Vince McMahon wanted officials to call matches like they were a shoot in 2000. You should go watch this. You'll see. Everybody is baffled while Quiche looks livid. He was a super pro. It also means they have to do the most awkward dance routine, which I did love. You have been forced into wiggling your hips. I don't know for sure, but I don't think you get taught that in wrestling school. Number 3, that referee. So this is the best story of all time, and you have to hear Cody Rhodes tell it really. He's so good at it. Let us go back to the 17th of June 2011 SmackDown though, where Cody teamed with Ted DiBiase and Wade Barrett to face Ezekiel Jackson, Daniel Bryan, and Sin Cara. What a bizarre match. It kicked off the show, and I guess WWE wanted the fans to get some action on this night. Because this was going to get some serious time, let's get some people over. Of course, Jackson held the smaller heels around, and Sin Cara went flippy-dippy-doo-dah. When Bryan got the hot tag, he ran wild. He also popped DiBiase in the corner, who fell to the floor, so Daniel tried to pin him. That is the idea of wrestling. Now, after such a move, Ted was always going to kick out at 2, which he did. The problem was, it was one of those situations again. The ref didn't care, and he counted to 3 anyway, and Bryan looked like he'd seen a ghost. He has no idea. The officials then demanded the heels get in the ring to celebrate, which makes this even more bonkers. And as Cody talked about at StarCast 2018, while Junior did get his shoulders up, he didn't really kick out, which is why the ref got confused. He'd missed it, basically. The highlight, however, is Rhodes explaining that DiBiase marched through the backstage area after shouting, "Where's that referee? He was trying to f*** on me." Though Ted has since actually said that wasn't true. The former is way funnier though, so I'm just going to say it did happen. I mean, something must have gone down afterwards. This was a total mess. Number 2, Dean Malenko forgets the match at Sold Out 2000. This wasn't his fault. Surprise, surprise, it was actually WCW's. Because Dean Malenko was booked to face Billy Kidman, and because World Champs in Wrestling couldn't keep anything simple, this became a catch-as-catch-can match, or a fight that had a bunch of needless stipulations. Therefore, you could lose if your feet touched the floor, or you left the ring, basically. This was meant to be a wrestling fight, so you shall wrestle. This was only told to the guys like 3 seconds before, however, although I am exaggerating. But as soon as they did get into a scrap, Dean got whacked and left the squared circle to reset. That's the most classic sports entertainment play ever, so he was just going through the motions. Of course, here, that meant he was done, and referee Charles Robinson had no choice but to say the match was over almost instantly. You should go and look at Malenko too. He was so sad, he knew. This was similar to years later when the great Khali took himself out of a battle royal. But actually, WWE didn't care then. They just told us, no he didn't. Okay, sorry, my mistake. Number 1, R-Truth wins the US title by defeating Shinsuke Nakamura of all people. This felt quite big. Shinsuke's main roster run has been all over the place, especially after WrestleMania 34. We turned Nakamura heel and then he lost constantly, and that made him look dumb. You threw your morals out the window and for what? Nothing. Thankfully, it kept him towards the top of the card, so he was granted a US title run until he bumped into Rusev, who took that belt off him after 156 days. Shinsuke then won it back when he got to defend it on the 2019 Royal Rumble pre-show. Wonder nobody cared about this gold. R-Truth was the opponent, so this was basically a match to have a match when Truth won the championship. It is sort of amazing because despite being a properly trained fighter, after Truth had hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, he locked it in too tight, I guess. Shinsuke couldn't actually kick out. I think most guys must have been confused as well, because they carried on throwing bombs. They didn't realize the match was over. Nakamura then yelled at the ref as Truth looked totally stunned, but by this point there was no point. R was the champion. You better go and deal with it. Rusev then marched out for a random match, so who knows if that was planned. But Truth just did another roll-up and ran off. Last 2 minutes of this segment are totally wild, and I would presume one hell of a massive accident. Know of any other accidents that have gone wrong in professional wrestling when it came to the finish? Make sure you let us know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then you can click the video on the screen to get even more professional wrestling trivia into your brain. But otherwise, I appreciate you, friends, and I will talk to you again very soon.